The film so quintessentially starts with the line, "We were somewhere
We're around Barstow, on the edge of the desert, when the drugs began to take hold."
The story follows our heroes of Raoul Duke and Dr. Gonzo on their trip to Las Vegas. They've rounded up drugs, Hawaiian shirts, recorders, guns, and a convertible car to burn down Las Vegas with. And as they go through Vegas, they go from establishment to establishment, raising hell, causing problems, burning bridges, to hunt for the heart of the American spirit in America's ultimate vacation destination. Now the real question is, do they find it? But as the film progresses, we realize that this is a meditation on American culture, what it means to be American, what life could have been if things had gone differently. Before we get too far into the analysis, if you wouldn't mind liking the video and subscribing to the channel and considering supporting me on Patreon, it would go a long way to helping me make more of these videos. Thank you. The first thing this film does amazingly is, and if it didn't do this well, it would be an absolutely horrible film, is this film does a great job of portraying what it's like to be on drugs. This film is a masterclass of how to portray drug use. I think if any student filmmaker who wants to have a drug scene could easily watch this movie and learn a lot of techniques to show what is going on. There's the classics of the wide-angle lenses, the fast editing, the in-camera hallucinations that are shown juxtaposed where people aren't even acknowledging them because they're obviously not seeing them except for Raoul Duke and Dr. Gonzo. There's also the discontinuity of time. Time seems to flow however it's chooses to feel, even on a narrative sense, like with Memento, where there is a narrative purpose to why things are out of order, whereas in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, there is no rhyme or reason to why things are out of order. The whole point is obviously that it's messy. The drugs aren't going to lay everything out perfectly for you like a Christopher Nolan film. The film begins with an ominous quote of, "He who makes a beast of himself gets rid of the pain of being a man," by Dr. Johnson. And I think for a lot of people, the initial interpretation of that is, oh, by Raoul Duke and Dr. Gonzo taking all these drugs, they become beasts, which Dr. Gonzo definitely becomes a beast in a lot of ways. And even Raoul Duke does a little bit as well. And therefore, they lose the pain of being a man. And I think that's sort of the possibly initial reading that you'll get of why that quote is there. And I would say it vaguely makes sense. But I think once you really think about it and really see what is being shown while they are traversing Vegas looking for the heart of America, and it is the system that they're a part of, the sort of fun house but entirely money-based culture and existence that is in Las Vegas that allows people, not Raoul Duke and Dr. Gonzo, but allows the people who run Las Vegas, and by extension America, allows them to run the system the way they run it without the pain of being a man. They get to be the beasts that are exploiting people, exploiting the tourists. It's this metaphor for the American system being a scam. When we look at life now to then, it's only gotten worse. Life is more and more of a scam. Life is more and more of a Las Vegas funhouse experience where they're picking your pocket while they're, dazzling you with something. And society basically makes it okay to do so. There is no individual pain and responsibility to be a good person because you're just following the rules of society. You can exploit people if you're following the rules of society. Now, obviously, Duke and Dr. Gonzo, they exploit people and break the law, but it's just because they are not doing it on the rules of society is why there's a problem. They are on a different wavelength than the average person or the people who live and work in Las Vegas, but they're able to skirt past it with their sort of skills as scumbags. After a few nights of drug benders and just enjoying Las Vegas and studying the heart of America, Duke reflects on what has happened to America compared to what he experienced when he was in San Francisco in the mid-60s. He saw a completely different culture. He saw what a possibility of what life could have been in America. In contrast to what Las Vegas in 1971 has become, it is the opposite of what it was. The way Duke juxtaposes these two cultures and concepts of the mid-60s San Francisco with the 1971 Las Vegas is, I think, to highlight what could have been and what has become. We could have been a culture of caring and free love, as they say, and not a war machine society, not a money-obsessed society, not a commodity-based society. We could have had a culture that is more nuanced, which is more based around love and art, and a less stressful society for us all to live in. We're not forced to exploit each other. We're not forced to be part of the war machine. We're not forced to engage in such a materialistic culture, basically. He laments what has happened to when you look at 1971 Las Vegas. And I think that is still very true today. And I think there's a lot of irony that we can get the film doesn't even know about. I mean, like, let's look at what San Francisco is today in 2023. San Francisco is the opposite, even more the opposite of what Duke is lamenting about in 1971. San Francisco is no longer a free drug expression culture where there's free love and we're non-materialistic and much more calm and relaxed. San Francisco is now incredibly stressful, incredibly money-driven, business-driven place. 70s Las Vegas is the prototype microtransaction world that I would say, currently live in today. And what is San Francisco now? But it's where they come up with all the ideas, basically. It's where Apple decides how much they're going to charge you for their services that you very desperately need, because how do you function without an iPhone? Basically, it's gone from being the free love world that it once was, that Duke is lamenting, to basically being the hub, the mind, the brain center of this culture and war machine system that we are now all a part of. And I think that you could look at what Duke and Dr. Gonzo are doing to Las Vegas, terrorizing the people in the system, as a sort of way of performance art, almost, in the sense that they are trying to revitalize a old, sort of gone world where we aren't so materialistic. Life isn't so rigidly rule-based, where materialism isn't so hard and fast, where you need to pay for everything right on time, and if you don't, there's going to be a problem. I always kind of think it's kind of funny to think about them trying to pull all these shenanigans in Las Vegas in today's world, because with security cameras, with instant payment options, with computers where instant feedback, the whole system that Duke and Dr. Gonzo are railing against is this instant ledger system of everything has to be accounted for. You always have to pay the house always wins. I think Duke and Dr. Gonzo have their sort of time in the sun with their time in Las Vegas, where they are able to express themselves. They sort of get to terrorize and sort of take their anger of how the world is out on the sort of squares of Las Vegas and the heart of America, basically. But I think at the end of the day, they are also still very sad of the fact that this is the way the world is, and they still eventually have to go back to living in it, basically. They're sort of living a fantasy weekend, and I think that's what happens at the end with Duke, where he is sort of realizing that everything is survival mode now. That the 60s was trying to radically change the world, but the only thing it really accomplished was expanding people's consciousness with drug use and just a different philosophy of thinking. And they didn't really prepare them for the response from the current system, the current war machine, the current capitalist system that we live in, materialist system, would have a response to it, which is basically saying no to all of their demands of wanting to change things. And so because of that, everything is now just survival. It's basically making yourself happy and comfortable in this sort of shit system that we're stuck in. And at the end of the movie, Duke has a proclamation of individualism where he's able to realize that he is not of this system, and his defiance and unwillingness to be a part of it has value in and of itself. The machine is going to keep running without him, and he can't change anything about it. But there is a level of satisfaction and comfort that he can give himself by being so defiant of it and being a freak and going and living in his freak kingdom. Thanks for listening to my analysis of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas by Terry Gilliam. It would mean a lot if you would like and subscribe the video, and if you'd consider supporting me on Patreon. That would go a long way to helping me make more of these videos. Thanks again. See you next time.